Very excited for this. I have never done anything like this, let alone on a live stream. So this is exciting.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I don't think I've, I mean, not like formally at least. I mean, I've had chats
Okay.
with like mentors and people that I have done this, been there, done that, but
Sure.
never like a proper coaching session itself, and
Sure.
certainly not on a live call. So,
Same here. This is the first time for you and for me. So I've never done coaching live. So
right.
this is a grand experiment, I think. Let's see
Yeah,
how it
it'll be
goes.
fun. It'll be fun. I'm excited.
I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So so let me tell you a little bit. So you say you've not had any experience being coached or going through a coaching experience, right?
Yeah, I have not been through a coaching experience. Not really.
So let me get you a little bit up to speed in terms of in terms of what coaching is and what we will be doing today.
Got it.
Coaching is actually it's actually a journey that the coach and the coachee or the client undertake together. Now, typically, the coaching experience goes through probably multiple sessions, depending on the nature of what we discuss. In this particular situation, we'll figure out a topic as we come to it. But the way the process really works is you'll find me probably probing you and asking you a number of questions.
Got it.
Because the philosophy behind coaching is very simple, right? Until you are able to, you as in the client or the coachee is able to come up with the solutions or the arrival at their own insights. I can sit here and give you gyan, but is it really going to stick, right? Right. So that will be one part, right? Versus mentoring, where you get essentially advice from somebody who has already been there, done that sort of a thing, right? So there's a little bit in my approach. What we will do, depending on the topic, of course, is we'll do probably a little bit of both, depending on what we're going to talk about.
Got it.
It's a reflective process actually. So coaching is so my analogy that I give all my clients is I'm like the mirror
Right.
to you. So I shine the mirror and move it around to different dimensions so you get a chance to look within yourself for a lot of the answers, solutions, insights to whatever it is that's on your mind. Okay.
Got it.
So, but in this case, let's see how it goes.
Sure.
I usually, I blend in other methods as well, like mentoring, depending on what I feel the client needs at that point.
Right.
Okay. So let's try it out. Let's have some fun with it.
Sure. I mean, I do. I mean, I have done some reflection in the past. Like I usually try to do a weekly or a monthly reflection. But obviously, it's not facilitated, so it's kind of my own
That's
process in some sense. Yeah.
The
So this
fact
will
that
be
the fact that you do that itself is actually a big plus. I mean, I wish more people would spend time doing that.
right.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is
Do you want to wait a couple of minutes and then get started, or
you
we
want
can
to
just
start right now? It's 5 o'clock. I see some people on.
chat? Yeah. Give it a minute or so.
Let me just say welcome to everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, we can maybe start at like 5:03. We can give it a minute or so. And
Sure.
This is going to be the first of a 5-part series, right? Is that correct? Like you're planning
Yeah,
to
I
do
think so. Let's see how this goes, and then we'll decide whether you guys want to carry on with it or whether we want to pull it. So,
Right. I mean, I think with any experiment, at least you want to give it a 2 or 3 shots.
give it a go. We'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I proposed it. I said, okay, let's try this out, and if we find interest generated, then maybe we can see if we want to continue this or try it in some other form.
Right. Okay, I think
But it'll be fun. Just to give people. So, how many of these names are from Crater itself?
Vivan is from Crater. Some of these are my friends. I can't tell though. They could just be same
That's
names.
cool. No worries.
I'm not 100% sure if they're my friends or someone else with the same name.
So, all of you who are from Crater, remember everything here is confidential. It doesn't go out anywhere else. And unfortunately, we're doing it live. Or fortunately, we're doing it live. But this is really between Vignesh and myself, and you guys are an audience who are going to be respectful of his space.
Right.
It's very important that you respect his space, because this is his space, his time, his focus. It's not about you guys. It's about Vignesh. All right.
Awesome. Let's get started. I think
All right.
this.
Sure.
We don't want to keep
So,
people waiting.
so as I was telling you briefly about coaching, right? I mean, it's more of a interactive cue, questioning, probing, discussing, and sharing. The idea is that I ask you, or we go through a series of questions and process, but first we identify where we want to go, right? What the topic that you want to pick up is, and we focus on that for the session. So we will find ourselves sometimes during the process drifting here or there, and we'll see where it goes, and then if need be, I'll steer us back into where we need to go. All right.
Got it.
So we'll start with that. The way I've been doing coaching now, for formal coaching at least for the last year or so. I just to introduce myself so we can get to know each other a little better. You must have seen my profile, I guess. Come with a
Yep.
lot of years of experience and so on. Not that that makes me any the wiser, but that's just where I come from. But one of the key things that I felt when I retired from my active corporate career was that I believed that the world needed something more, right? And I think coaches are in short supply. In fact, my favorite saying is everybody needs a coach.
Right.
I wish everybody had a coach, because it's a very valuable tool and a very valuable way in which you can we can really grow. Talking about growth, I saw your LinkedIn profile and you said, learning to learn on your about thing. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll give a quick intro about myself as well, really quick,
Sure.
just so you have an idea. So, I actually, yeah, I think that's been like something I've always been passionate about, figuring out how people consume knowledge and also how like I myself can learn how to learn better. Like
Okay.
I think the way the world is, I think everyone needs to have that skill. The world is changing too fast for us to be stagnant. So that's been my deep interest. I think right after college, I actually dabbled in the non-profits and a little bit in the education space, nonprofit side, and I was experimenting quite a lot.
Okay.
Worked with students, trying to understand where they're coming from, trying to understand their learning process, and a
Mhm.
lot of insights. And obviously, once the pandemic hit, it became a lot harder. And recently, during that, I also met Vivan, my co-founder with Crater, and we kind of felt that the consumption of knowledge online is also like a challenge today. Like you see too many very stiff videos where you're talking to an expert, but it doesn't really feel very genuine. So one thing we've been doing is obviously with live streams, interaction.
Vignesh,
Is that my
I think we're having
or
issues with your network.
oh my god? Should I
You're on mute. I can't hear you.
okay? Let me switch my internet. Give me a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully this is better. I've tried a different one as well. But basically, yeah, this exploration has largely been around how people can consume knowledge, and I felt that like with Creator as well, what we're trying to do is create like genuine knowledge spaces where people can learn from. Like I felt like live interactions, for example, are a lot more authentic. Like even something like this, right? Like this is I feel it's a very genuine and authentic interaction as opposed to something you might find on YouTube where you're seeing a very scripted and like
Right.
very stiff in a studio setting. I think this is just much more real. I felt, and that's also a lot of the intuition behind Creator as well. So this has been something that's been experimented for a while, but again, I don't have that much experience, so to speak. Like I've never really worked anywhere. Most of these have just been me, my own experiments, trying different things, and I think that's how I like to learn. So,
That's great. That's really good. I mean, the fact that, there's a couple of words that stuck out to me when you were speaking was, you were talking about genuine experiences and real experiences, right?
Right.
Wanting to do something that's genuine and real. So that's very interesting. We'll come back, we'll revisit that because part of our exploration as we go through this is to try and understand what your beliefs and your value systems are.
Right.
Um, and that'll give us some insights also, or give you some insights about yourself, probably.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. So with that, let's switch to, we've got about, I'm going to just set the time now, about 45 to 50 minutes.
Sure.
What would you like to do in that time? What would you like to talk about?
I can tell you a couple of things that are on my mind right now that I think
Okay.
would be maybe valuable to kind of dive deeper into. I
Sure.
think one thing that has been current theme right now is balancing like a lot of expectations and like making sure. I'll just give you an example. Right? That would be the easiest. So let's say with Crater, obviously I work with the tech team, but there are so many different expectations that people have. Right, from one side you have a team that's obviously like looking to work and enjoy their work life balance at the same time also like learn and grow, so they have a certain expectation about the kind of want to do. In addition, you have also like the creators on the platform itself who obviously want a certain type of features. They want a certain thing on their end, like this should be better. And speaking, it's totally fair. You agree with that as well. And
Yeah.
then you have the expectation of the investors who expect to see a certain type of thing. And then you have your own. So it's like there are just so many different people who have a certain expectation of what needs to be done and where that is. And I think managing those and balancing those at times can be very challenging. And I think that's been cause for like definitely like it does lead you to be a little stressed out about things. And I think that has been something that's obviously been on my mind recently. Not to say that this is a theme, but I guess it's just at the current moment that's what's on my mind. I think
Okay.
another thing I think I obviously want to be more mindful of is also my ability to stay calm. Usually, I think I have generally through my life, I've been very, usually very calm and composed when things are like, even in moments of crisis. That's been, I'd say, one of my strengths, at least the way I see it. But I think I've got to a point where there's too many things and I cannot. There are times when I don't have enough information, and that definitely like makes me a little bit more stressed out. So there are times when I don't know everything that's happening, and that's definitely a little bit more stressful. I think now that I think about it, I realize that calm was coming from a space of like ability and confidence to execute. But I think maybe when it's about also being calm in times when there are unknowns. So I think that's something that I obviously want to work on as I encounter more and more unknowns as I go through my life. So I think these are the two current themes that I think come to mind. I mean, I have had a chance to think through these and reflected myself, which is how I kind of arrived at these two. But yeah, these are two things that I know are like kind of in my mind right now. So
Okay.
I think one of these we can.
Great. Thanks for really sharing this. This is obviously you've given it quite a bit of thought. So let's pick one for today, right?
Sure.
Which one would you want to take a look at or explore today? I mean, we've got balancing expectations across the team, your audience, the investors, leading to stress. And then you've got the second one, which is, as I heard you say, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, how to be, how to build an atmosphere of calm and composure through stress, despite the fact that you have a lot of confidence, you have a lot of energy, but you want to be able to figure out a way in which you can manage that part. So, out of these two, which one would you want to explore today?
I think let's do the first. I think obviously, like I think to a degree, the first also kind of does tie into the second because it is a
Okay.
source of like uncertainty for me for sure. So we can do the first.
Okay. So as we talk, I make notes. So I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Of course.
So you talked about balancing expectations. So why is that? Why is that important to you?
Um, that's a good question. I think, obviously, I think it's about, like, I think, let's say, hypothetically, right, with Crater itself, you have a certain vision of like what you want to build, and you have a certain idea of like what you want to achieve as a company, as a startup. And that's just broadly speaking something that I am passionate about. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working on this. Like, I have a certain vision of how I expect, like I said earlier, about how learning should happen and these authentic interactions. And to me, like, balancing those expectations is something that would help me succeed in that vision, right? Like, I would want to balance those expectations because I think they're crucial towards helping me build that vision itself. And it's not that any of these stakeholders are not important, it's that all of them are important, but it's about balancing what are they looking for. And at least in my head, I think all of them are important, and all of their inputs are valuable to me,
Sure.
and all of the expectations should be met. um, and of course, I think some of it also stems from like personal values of myself. I think if I think about it, especially with respect to the team and like the people who work in the team of Creator itself, like one thing I fundamentally feel strongly about is always like, look, people need to have a life. Like, you need to have a healthy balance, and you need to thrive and grow as an individual. Like, I think that's not just true of me, but I think everyone in the team, everyone in Creator, everyone who's watching the stream should have that space to grow and thrive in their lives. And I think that's something I deeply value. And obviously, like, when we want to build things, I want to make sure that our team is also growing and learning and thriving in whatever environment they're a part of. So, combination of like personal value of like that, and also like expectation to build the vision that we want to build.
Okay. All right. You said there's a personal value, but I heard you talk about, so is the value that you're talking about as far as your team is concerned, that is, I heard you use two words here, which is, they got to have a life and they got to thrive and grow. So
Yeah.
is that what you're referring to as a value?
Yeah, I think okay, maybe it's not a value, but I think my hope for the world is that everyone has that in their life. I would say maybe, and I think maybe the value is more like I want to see a just world where everyone has that opportunity. Like, even when I was working in the nonprofit space, like, one of the reasons I would work with the children is because I want them to have that opportunity. It's something I want in the world, and something I feel like is important to me, at least.
Sure.
And I do think that that equal opportunity, in some sense, you could say, is something that I value, and I want the team to have that space to grow in their own journeys.
Okay. All right, cool. So coming back to the stakeholders, so one stakeholder is obviously your team, right?
Right.
So tell me some more about the other stakeholders.
Yeah. So one, the team, and I think Vivahan has pointed out on the chat that obviously investors is a theme as well. The investors of the company, they have obviously investors, current investors, but also future investors who.
Just a minute. I'm gonna have to pause over here for a minute, folks on the chat. I understand this is live and we're trying an experiment, but don't forget this is Vignesh's session. Okay, so I understand that you want to help, but the effectiveness of this is only going to be for Vignesh at this point. So if you can, please observe, and we'll do a little bit of a debrief at the end of the session. No worries. Okay, so just hold this. We're working in a new media. I'm also
Yeah.
experimenting, but so just hold it for now. Okay. I know a
Yeah.
lot of you are eager, but just hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
investors.
I'm sure my team is watching this. I hope they appreciate the sentiments.
No, no,
Any,
no worries. It's okay.
but definitely, yeah, investors. I think I had that in my mind before as well. Like, both current and future investors. I think that's something that I think as a startup you kind of have to manage. At least, yeah, that's, I think, becomes very important. And then obviously the users itself, like both from the viewer side, who are watching the stream, and they want to obviously see the content in a certain way, have a good experience at Creator, and obviously keep coming back. But
Yeah.
also from a creator side, like why does we obviously want like yourself to have a good experience on the platform itself.
Mhm.
And I think those are things that those are, like, I think, the four big stakeholders that come to mind.
Okay.
um,
So you've got the team, you've got investors, you've got users, but you've broken them up into viewers and creators.
yeah, yeah, I think those are the four expectations to manage. I think. I can't think of any more off the top of my head.
Okay, great. All right. This is a good start. So now that we're talking about balancing expectations, I presume that, and this is an assumption I'm making. I'm throwing the question across to you, and just help me validate or understand. So, does it feel? So, I guess you're talking to me about this because it's not in balance, or it doesn't feel in balance, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, that's fair. I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say it's not. Yeah, I don't know if maybe balancing is the wrong word, but like also meeting, right? Like I think there are expectations that are going to be unmet. Like, and it's bound to happen. Everyone wants a thousand things, and you can't cater to everything. But I think the fact that we can't is it does make me feel a bit uncomfortable, and I don't like that. Like I don't like someone having a bad experience, or their expectations being unmet because of something that we were unable to achieve. So there's definitely that. So I would say more than balance, I would say like prioritizing and choosing expectations or one over the other.
Okay.
Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Okay.
It's very challenging to choose a priority, and obviously, like I think more than that, I think feeling coping how I feel when something doesn't go as per someone's expectation is also something I need to get better at. Like I think I take it too personally maybe, and I definitely like dwell on it for a little too long. Quick example, like let's say I think someone comes on stream. I think we had a chat as well. The first time you went on, there was a technical snag, and I'm like, oh man, this shouldn't have happened. Like, this was because of me. And I gave you a call. I spoke to you. I think that was the
Yes, I
first time
did.
we interacted. But that definitely, like I think I take that a little too. Maybe I take that a little too much to heart. I don't know. And
Mhm.
it definitely affects my ability to execute for a few hours, if not more than that. So
Gotcha.
I think maybe that is something also. Now that I'm talking to you, I'm kind of like unpacking this a little bit, but maybe that is something that I need to also understand better.
But that's the whole idea, Vignesh, that
Right,
I'm holding the mirror up and I'm moving it around as you can.
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this
So
is helpful.
good.
Yeah,
So good. So now we're really talking about how do I meet, prioritize, and cope with potentially multiple sets of expectations. And so let's switch gears a little bit, right? What's important to you?
sure.
What's important to you?
Like
You're a co-founder,
so,
right?
kind of clarify.
So
So, what's important to
co-founder,
me?
what do you think is important to you? What are the things?
So, with respect to the four stakeholders I mentioned, or just generally in life, and like, what would you? I mean, I'm just curious.
I mean, it depends where you want to take it, but I would suggest we keep it to, because I think the context you are referring to is Crater, right? Pretty
Right,
much.
right, right, right.
So let's focus on Crater right now.
Okay. Uh, okay, I'm gonna try to keep in the four that I mentioned. But I think for me, that's a really hard one. Uh, I need to think.
Okay. Let me ask you a different question to make it to probably get you to think a little differently. Why did you guys start Crater?
Yeah, I think yeah, fair enough. I think fundamentally, like I mentioned at the start, like when we started off as a different product. We started off as a product where people can learn on a one-to-one basis from each other and have conversations to kind of grow your knowledge. And again, the basis was to have authentic interactions where people can learn from each other. And obviously, those meetings we thought would be the way for people to grow and network with each other, right? Fundamentally, now I think we've kind of realized that one-to-one is a bit slow. Like I meet one person and then I meet another person, but maybe I want to have a one-to-many interaction, and that's where the live streams were born. We felt how can we keep the authenticness of a one-to-one interaction, but at the same time take that at a larger scale as well. And obviously, not only that, in addition to that, you want to make sure that the people who are providing value to others are like adequately compensated in whatever way they're providing value. And that was one thing again we felt was lacking in the one-on-one piece. So why we're building out these auctions and why we want to help our creators also monetize is on that front. Like we want to make sure that the creators that are on our platform are adequately compensated as well for what value they're able to bring. So I think these two themes of like One is allowing the people to learn in a more authentic way, and two, like making sure that the people who are providing the value are adequately compensated. So I think these are the two broad themes, I would say, and
Okay.
the efforts towards Crater has.
I'm going to challenge you here. Don't give me the company stock answer.
Okay, okay.
Tell me what you think. Why did you start Crater? What was it about starting Crater that appealed to your sense of values? Because I hear you say this, repeating these words, authentic, real, live experience. Those are words I hear recurring. So I want you to think about that a little bit and tell me what it is really that drove you to move in this direction.
Okay. I'm gonna try and dig deeper. I'm not sure I'm able to get anything off the top of my head, so I'm gonna have to think for a moment. Um,
Take your time. Take your time. Stay with the question.
sure. Yeah, I mean the theme keeps coming back, right? I think this has been right through my life. Like I think even right from school, like I've always wanted to like I've always taught my friends, like even in school, right from my school days, I've been like, okay, my friend has some questions, I want to be able to help them learn. And I think my mom's a teacher, so maybe some of that kind of got ingrained in me. But I think this uh, helping people learn, I think, is something that's been a theme throughout my life. Like even now, I continue to part-time work at my non-profit, trying to help people learn. And I think one thing I felt is that those the opportunities to learn right now are not meaningful enough. I felt the same thing, same similar theme in my nonprofit as well. I felt that school is like too structured. It's too like it's not free. It's not a free learning space. And I felt and I somehow found the same theme occurring even in the knowledge consumption that I see on like YouTube or like Udemy or courses. Like I felt that it's too structured, it's too stifling, and again I come back to this. I didn't feel like they were doing me much good. Like I took a few courses as well online, and I'm like,
Mhm.
this does not work for me. Like I feel like I'm kind of just reading a textbook, and that didn't feel right.
Okay.
And I think this has been the theme throughout my life. Like I don't feel like, I think learning has to happen in a fun way. Like you have to enjoy what you learn, right? I think
Mm.
I the thing that I enjoy doing the most is learning something new. Like that's the most fun. Like I don't find anything more enjoyable than that. So but oftentimes it's very drab and it just sucks, and I think you want to have that joy while learning. And I feel like this has been and I think that a live interaction could create that experience. So
Great. Awesome.
I hope that answered your question, but I'm just trying to go
Yeah,
back on
I think it
all
does.
the.
The idea here now, I'm gonna probe a little more around this. I want to just help you noodle with this because if if this is what you really are about, right? Helping people learn, being authentic, being real, meaningful learning, the joy of learning, consuming knowledge in a fashion that is, almost all pervasive, free for all, I guess. I'm using some words here.
Sure.
And one of the words that, it was interesting to watch your body language when you said joy.
Right.
It's something light, it was like a light went off inside.
Right.
So, are you feeling that joy now?
Right now, probably not. I'm definitely feeling a bit overwhelmed. I will say, like, I think this
Okay.
last few weeks have been hectic. That's not to say that I think on a normal basis, I do a lot of things that do give me joy. I think, and it's not. I would say like I don't like thinking of it as like my overall week was joyful or my month. So I look at like
Okay.
moments.
That's fine.
I like to think of moments. Like a few minutes ago, actually, I was working with one of our team members, Sanjeev, and we were like trying to make something look nice on the website. And there was a CSS problem, and we solved it, and that gave me a lot of joy. I'm like, look, we figured this out. This was fun. We had to Google around Scrounge. Neither of us knew exactly how to solve it, but We were able to figure it out, and that was like a moment that's like, okay, this was awesome. Like I learned something new and we solved a problem. So I get those moments for sure. Like I do experience those a lot in the work that I do. But yeah, recently that was one of them. But I think there is a general feeling of like pressure as well. I want to say like a little bit of uh,
Okay.
this managing these expectations that I'm feeling right now. So
So when you do feel these expectations, so on the one hand, you've got these expectations you're talking about, and you use the word pressure. So the pressure you're feeling from these expectations, and then you've got your sense of joy, right, of doing something that you wanted to do,
right.
right? And I mean, you're realizing it. You're actually seeing it take shape and form. How does that feel for you when you've got these set of expectations on one side and you've got this sense of joy out here? Which is the predominant one?
Yeah, I mean, until I spoke to you, actually, I think until we just kind of probed into this question of like those moments of joy, I don't think I've like really noticed them as much. And now I'm like looking back and trying to think, oh, there were actually quite a few of them. And now that I think, like, I have not paused to enjoy those moments enough. I think the paying too much attention to these, like, okay, deliverable, this has to happen, that has to happen, I think it's kind of like taken me away from
Pause,
the
pause, pause.
yeah.
What did you say first before you said what you just did?
Sorry, like I said, I haven't noticed
You
the
said, yeah, you started off by saying something about until I started asking you these questions, that you actually know when you look at it or you look back at it, you felt senses of joy, and then
right,
everything sort of.
right,
Listen to your words very carefully, because notice how quickly you slip from, actually, no, I had a lot of joy, but da, 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 da.
right, 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 right,
So
right.
what happens there in that space between the feeling of joy and suddenly everything else takes over?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like I think I kind of forget. I think this was something that I actually like, even with the reflection, and I was telling you, right? Like I haven't had a chance to do that in the last couple of weeks. Like normally I try to spend some time meditating as well, and I haven't done that either. And I think those have been like also certain, like I don't think I've been in the moment enough. Maybe that's also something that I'm now realizing when I talk to you.
What does it mean to be in the moment?
Like okay, maybe I'll phrase it a bit better. But usually I think one of the things I think I do well, or I was considered myself doing well, is that I think I enjoy the journey of whatever's happening. Like, okay, something is going wrong, but you know what, this is something that it's a fun problem to solve. Let's enjoy that, like enjoy that journey as it's happening. And I think that's something I definitely used to do a lot more. I mean, I'm trying to just reflect on the last couple of weeks. I'm also using this time to reflect that I haven't been doing for the last couple of weeks. So it's really nice. But I think you're right. I haven't really, everything has felt like a chore. And I think that is like my general challenge as well. Like even the, like, even with the things that I do, like normally to clear my head, like sometimes I take a nice hot shower, but and that clears my head and I feel really good. But even that's felt like a chore. And I think that may be something that I want to relook at. And I think
So how are you going to
I think fundamentally, I think the realization is really helpful. I will say, like, I think knowing that in the first place is super helpful. I think just this is definitely like I'm feeling better. Like I'm like, okay, you know what? This is not my usual self. Like I know that like uh, I think knowing that I'm not enjoying that itself has been helpful. But I think maybe I want to revisit, like, go back to finding 10 minutes of my time to meditate. I think that really helps me.
okay?
I kind of get all the thoughts that are rumbling around in my head usually just come to a standstill. Not saying it's perfect. Like I don't have like the greatest of meditation processes, but usually does help me. Like I think to take that step back and give myself the space to process all of these things. And I think I will try to be more. I want to definitely make sure that I reflect. I think that's another thing that I need to do. So
I have a question.
yes,
When you use the word joy, where in your body do you feel this?
it's a good question.
Just go with your instinct. That's all. There's no right or wrong answer here. Where do you feel it?
I'm not able to put my hand on it, but
Okay, right now you're feeling probably little mood elevated, whatever.
yes, for sure.
So where
Uh,
you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit relaxed, so definitely on my shoulders. Maybe I do feel a little more relaxed.
Okay.
I don't know where the joy. I'm trying to think,
Can you
but
just pause that for a minute and just feel that feeling? Just feel it. Feel it and retain it. Try and see if you can retain it.
right.
Okay. So what does what does it mean when you don't have joy? What's that feel like?
I feel cluttered and I feel like chaotic. I think that's the big thing that happens, and I feel like snappy. Like someone asked me something, I'm gonna snap. Those are the I think more the manifestations of it. I'm trying to still think of how that makes me feel, but I don't like my head. I don't feel good in my head. I know something that doesn't feel right. Like I can sense that for sure. Um,
Have you looked at your breathing at that time?
Not recently,
Okay.
uh, but
We're
that's
going to pause here and do a little bit of an exercise. It's
sure.
going to seem a little funky, but you also do meditation and stuff. So just sit back comfortably, right? We're just going to do some deep breathing for a minute or two. That's all.
Sure.
Okay? I promise. There's no mumbo jumbo here. It's just
Sure.
want you to get back in touch with what you actually feel,
Right.
because you have to ask yourself what your real state is. Okay. So let's just close our eyes. Close your eyes. Feel your feet on the floor, right? And just take a couple of deep breaths. Feel your chest, your belly rise and fall. And if you're having a whole bunch of thoughts in your head, that's okay. Just bring them back slowly to think about only your breath. Gently. Be gentle. Relax your shoulders. Relax your face. Relax your neck. Feel the weight of your body on your bottom, pressing into the chair. Breathe. Just breathe. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes. How does that feel?
That was great. I think definitely much needed. I and There's something surreal about the fact that like normally I do this very alone. It's a very alone process, but it was something very relaxing about the fact that what anyone can see this, and that was something that was actually quite. I expected it to be weird, but actually quite liberating. I'm like, what? Everyone's just watching me breathe, and that's totally fine. So that was interesting. I have never done this in front of anyone in my life, so very interesting. I feel good. I definitely feel a lot lighter, if that makes sense.
So, okay, now I'm going to switch modes from coaching to leading here. Okay.
Sure.
The thing here, Vivan, Vignesh, is that you know, being a co-founder, having responsibilities for people, having responsibility for the company, investors, blah 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 blah. It's very easy to shift your focus away from yourself. It's natural. Everybody does it, right? I mean, if in my professional career, I've done that, and it takes a certain effort to make sure that you bring yourself back to yourself, because you're winding up taking care of everybody else, and you're not really taking care of yourself.
Right.
So, what do you want to do about it?
Yeah, I think more of like what we just did right now, and I think going and this has been a process that I do follow to a reasonable degree, but like carefully built up some habits that I used to follow quite religiously, and I've not maybe kind of slacked on them and not taken care of myself enough. I definitely noticed that, especially after speaking. I think all these other things are like symptoms of that, like underlying disconnect with myself. And I think the awareness is very helpful for me because I do have a process that I've kind of established in terms of meditating, in terms of reflecting, even in terms of exercising. To be honest, like I try to get in a workout every day, and I think
Mm.
those have been obviously like are really crucial to how I execute and how I'm feeling, and maybe need to prioritize finding the time for that a little more. Um, uh, Again, I think so those are definitely things that I wanna reestablish as part of my process.
We're going to go a little further into this, okay? I'm going to ask you about your. I know you guys in the startup world don't have any schedules,
Right, right.
um, but broadly speaking, what's your day like?
I think it has been quite chaotic the last few weeks, but broadly speaking, what happens is wake up in the morning. I usually get in a short workout, like 30-40 minutes. So
What
I
time do you wake up?
This is a tough question. Like the last couple of months since the new year, I made a resolution. Those were like at 9 or so.
That's okay.
Before that
Fine.
was
I'm not judging you.
before that is like 12, and then the past few weeks has been like 12. So, but normally I would say 9 is what I want to strive for, and like at least month of January, I was mostly at 9. Would wake up, do a 30
Just
40.
take a look at your normal, regular schedule. Don't worry about what you want to do right now.
Yeah,
Just
tough
talk
to
about.
stay regular. I think because there's 25 years of my life that's very different, and in the last 1 month that I've tried to reestablish a routine. So I'm finding it difficult to say what is regular. I don't know. Feels a bit, but feels a bit like strong to say my 9 a.m. is regular. But typically, let me just go back to last year. What I did all of last year was I'd
Okay.
wake up at 11, like have some tea, get started with working. Maybe like within 30 minutes of waking up would start working, eat
Okay.
lunch at like around 2:30 or so, then usually work till like 6:15,
Mm.
work out for 45 minutes, uh, maybe work for a little bit longer until like 9, and then call it a night.
Mm.
So go down for dinner, spend time with some family, come back. Sometimes there's work to do, but if not, usually like spend some time gaming,
Okay.
play some games online, maybe watch some cricket if there's any cricket on. Otherwise, yeah. And then before I go to bed, shower, read a book, for a bit, and then go to bed. So
What's usual bedtime? Usual in the sense broadly.
yeah, usually around like 2:33, 3-ish, I would say.
In the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
So, is this routine giving you what you need for yourself?
Yeah, I thought this worked for me last year. I think I definitely enjoyed it last year. But this year, I think I wanted to move my workouts to the mornings, mainly because I think 6 o'clock can get hectic. On Creator itself, we have a lot of streams happening, and obviously, if in case the website goes down, I don't want my workout to be interrupted. I like that to be uninterrupted.
Sure.
So trying to move the workouts to the morning, which was what I was trying to do by waking up at 9, get a workout in, and then eat breakfast. Another thing I think is like I'm trying to put on some weight, so I was gonna try and get a breakfast in. I was just doing lunch and dinner before, so just trying to wake up early to get some breakfast
You're
as well.
trying to put on weight, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little underweight briefly, so I was trying to put on some weight. That's also why I'm working out. Like, you know what, put some muscle on. I look like there's
Nice.
literally nothing. So people always joke saying you're trying to put on weight. It can't be that hard, but honestly, it's just as hard as losing weight. I think people like feel like this is a lot easier. But
I
yeah,
used to be that way for a large part of my life until I became larger than life. So,
right. So I think I think for me it's like putting on the weight in the right places also, right? I don't want to just like
sure.
have a nice big fat tummy. So yeah, that's been the change in the schedule. But I think this can work. I see this as being able to work for sure.
What the reason I'm asking you these questions, Vignesh, is that this is an opportunity. These types of sessions are an opportunity for you to look at yourself in terms of what is it that really motivates you. I mean, we started off with balancing expectations. Then we talked about how do I meet expectations, how do I prioritize expectations, and then we got into this discussion of your personal values, and then we stumbled upon this concept of joy.
Right.
So, and in that process, I think you came to realize that, the joy that you started with is now becoming a little more rare.
Right.
So, again, now I'm going to give you again a little bit of gyan. If you are not okay, nobody is going to be okay.
Right.
I don't want to sound like your parents or anybody, but you got to, I mean, all of us, right? I mean, this is a very important part that, unfortunately in our lives today, we have so many conflicting priorities, or priorities that we believe somebody else has made for us, or we believe that somebody else is expecting from us, right? And in your situation, it's very likely that, right? Because you are a co-founder, you are carrying the weight of the company, you have employee, you have teammates, you have investors, you have all of those things. So it's going to feel like, oh my God, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. The question is really, and that this is the real question that you need to ask yourself: what am I doing with all of this that connects me back to my joy? And how do I find that? What is that definition of joy that I need? What does it mean to me? It's joy is a state of mind, right?
Right.
How do you touch that state of mind? At will. At will. Not based on, okay, you did great in a gaming situation, and
Right.
or you did great, you debugged something, you found the solution to a problem, and there's this spurt of endorphins and all of
Right.
that stuff that comes in. When you started Crater, when you started even before Crater, there were some sources of joy.
Okay.
And isn't that the basis on which you built Crater?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So, how are you going to remind yourself of that in the hurly-burly of life? I mean, you're going to have all these things are going to continue. Nothing's going to stop. So how are you going to act, right? What are some of the things you can think of that you can do that puts this front and center.
Right. I need to think about that. I need to see, because I think again, I think the one thing that I did talk about that gave me joy, I know for sure, is when people are learning or growing. I think that's something that I enjoy. Even when I volunteer at my nonprofit on the weekends, I see some child learn like addition. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That gives me like joy for sure. And at Crater, if I think about it, it happens every day on the live stream, right? I'm sure there's somebody here on this stream who's learned something. I hope, I know for sure I did, but I'm assuming there are people here who learned as well. Um, and maybe I think for me, obviously it doesn't come front and center because I can't see them, and they are an invisible audience in some sense, other than the chat where someone says, "Hey, this was a great session." But maybe I think I need to maybe uh, reflect a little bit on that.
It's
On
Vignesh's own place. Nobody
right,
can do it. Nobody
right,
should do it. And how is Vignesh going to create that space for himself? I don't care what it is, whether a workout brings you joy or, just that feeling of this 2 minutes of breathing that got you a sense of balance, whatever, right? I don't know the answer. That answer you have to find. That answer you're going to have to provide for yourself.
right,
And maybe it's not any one thing. Could be multiple things. Could be two, three things strung together. And okay.
yeah. I need to think about that. I think that's a
Sure.
that's a,
So
that's
we'll
a
pause here. We'll
that's a question that I need to spend some time on. There
yeah,
are
but
things
see,
that come to
the
mind, but
problem is this. If we were in a real coaching session, in the sense that, I would tell you that, okay, what's the homework for you, so that in the next session when we meet, you're going to tell me what you've done.
right, right.
So
I will.
you don't get away that easily, Vignesh. I'll get your number and I'll figure out how to reach you.
No, I will hold myself accountable. I know you're going to do another session here next week. I know it's going to be with a different person, but I will hold myself accountable and try to figure that out by the time you do your next session.
Pause again and look at yourself. Is this causing an additional pressure or a burden to you?
Uh, I don't think so. I think this is something. I mean, I've already figured out that I've kind of like moved away from my process a little bit, and I think this will help me identify that process again. And I think I need to.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I think this will help me get back to my zone in some sense.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for really being honest. And I know it's not easy being honest in front of a live audience, but
No, this was
I think we did pretty cool.
this was amazing. I actually feel like it was actually very liberating doing it in front of a live audience. I mean, now I think I just trying to reflect on the session itself, and I'm like really putting yourself out there. Like it's not you're not just
You're not holding back.
yeah. I think there's something. Obviously, it was kind of tough at the start because I'm like, oh no, what are people going to think? But then after a point, like, no, just do my thing and enjoy the session itself. So I think that was amazing and something powerful about the fact that people are also watching in some sense. I think that was very interesting. And yeah, thanks a lot. I think this was much needed.
I'm glad to hear that.
I feel like these are processes that sometimes you need that additional help to go through these things. And I think as much as I have been able to be somewhat disciplined about it, when you're really feeling it a lot, it's hard to kind of go through that yourself.
You guys, all of you at Crater, I think could use some coaching.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
as I say, it's not just Crater. I mean it. This is really what I believe in. Everybody needs a coach. I need.
Sure.
In fact, I was talking to one of the people I'm going through. Who's training me. I'm going through some more training to be a more effective coach, and I've asked him to be my coach.
Right.
Because there are a whole bunch of unresolved questions, issues that I have that I want to work on, and I could use somebody's help to work on it. It's not always that you need to go to a therapist. I mean, I don't go to a therapist or a counselor all the time.
Right.
So anyway, hey, this was great. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I think this was great. I think it's also amazing that I can look back on this as well at a later
Yeah,
point.
you can look back on it and go back and replay it for
I
yourself.
can literally watch the entire video,
It's so
and
cool, you know.
that is so cool to me.
That
Like,
is so cool. A lot of times I tell my coaches the same thing. I said, if we could record your sessions and you go back and replay them, then that would be really cool. That would be a huge value add.
yeah, I think that's gonna be something I'm definitely gonna check out. Maybe a couple of weeks from now, or
Sure.
we'll see. And like what was this was where I was, and it was really cool. I just want to take a moment. I don't know if anyone
Yeah, we
heard.
can ask questions now. Okay, folks, we're opening the floor up. So if any of you have any stuff that you want to ask or you want to talk about or express, Sai had a question here, which is, can you also talk about managing and building a team? Okay. What do you want to know, Sai? You got to build a team, you got to manage it.
I mean, I think I can maybe quickly touch
Go for
something
it. Please do.
I learned today as well, and I think this was the thing that I think really struck with me is like you have to, before we get into managing and building a team, you can need to take care of yourself, right? I think that was the learning for me today, or like a reflection today is like uh, it's easy to get caught up with the outside and like the team itself, but I think fundamentally like you can't get into that or manage and build a team without feeling in the right zone yourself. And I think like I think there's a really nice book on this as well that I had read some time back. Like it's called "I'm Okay, You're Okay," I think.
Yep.
So kind of talking about yourself first and making sure you are feeling in the right zone. And I think that kind of propagates as well. If I think about it, like now that I think about it, like the zone that you're in and the kind of how you're feeling does affect the way everyone else feels, whether you knowingly do it, even at remote, right? I always think remote, okay, you don't get that, but it does happen. Like if you're kind of feeling a little stressed out, a little on edge, it does hit the team in a certain way as well.
I'd like to add to that, Vignesh. There is this thing, I call this the dinner table principle. The moment you lead an organization, you can be sure that you're part of dinner table conversation at somebody's table that night. Somebody's going to be talking about you. Somebody's going to say, hey, you know what, Vignesh came in today, man, we solved this problem. Somebody else is going to say, yeah, he got pissed off at me, or whatever the heck. Now, this is what happens, right? When you're in the organization as part of a team, you can only look sideways at each other. When you're a leader, you're sitting up there and everybody's looking up at you.
Right.
So what your state of mind is, and you put it absolutely right, what your state of mind is and how you feel is what is going to build the energy into your team, because that's what's going to translate into your organization. So if you're feeling joyful, if you're feeling energetic, if you're feeling good about yourself, that energy will just exude.
Right.
I know it sounds like a lot of fluff, but trust me, the day you walk into the office with your shoulders slouched and a frown on your face, believe me, everybody knows you woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
As well.
All right.
This is a good question.
This is a great question. Meena asked this question. Go for it.
How do you handle the downtimes in a startup? I mean, I think at least one thing we've learned in the last few months has been that, like, I think it's really crucial to not get to kind of focus on the fact, like, not get too pressured by the fact that it is down. Obviously, there's a fire, but you're not going to put the fire out if you're just screaming fire, 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 right? You actually need to focus on the solution and how to actually fix the problem. And I think, but more from a technical standpoint as well, I think when we thought of solutions, we're always thinking of two types of solutions. One is, look, there's a short-term solution that is get this thing back up running and in the shortest way possible. And the second thing I would say is obviously think through the long term as well. It's not about you fixed it short term, now you're done. Like your short term fix is just an everything. And I think oftentimes we forget to look at what do I need to do to prevent this from happening again. So I think that's another thing to also spend some time on. But I think the main thing is like don't panic, don't get too affected by the fact that it's down, because that'll cloud the way you think. And I think I know the first time it went down, we were like really like didn't react to it well at all, and we were like, what is going on? Oh my god, like this is a mess. And we kind of panicked for sure. And I think we could have done things a little bit differently if we hadn't panicked so much. It took us like 3 shots before we found the solution. I'm like, this could have just happened the first try and we could have been back up and running very smoothly. So I think crisis moments, I think the fundamental thing that comes to mind is not panicking. And maybe one thing we kind of touched on today as well is like finding a way to like, and it's part of my homework as well, is like finding a way to go back to your like zone, finding that process for you. So maybe then you're able to go use that process and then get back to the zone as well. I think that those triggers that will allow you to get back to your process and your zone, I think is crucial in moments of crisis.
I'd like to recommend a book for all of you if you haven't read it. It's called Flow, by this guy Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Yeah.
You must read it. And I think you should make it essential reading for your entire organization, because if you really want to learn how to be in the zone and be in that state of flow, that's a great way to understand.
Yeah, Deepak is saying it's changed his life, and it also changed mine. I have read the book as well. It's a great book. A lot of what I've learned. Yeah, it's awesome book.
Niranjan asked a very interesting question. You work on NGO and startup. Key tips on managing both.
Yeah, this is a tough question, but I think actually one thing that's been very it's actually been, I would say, helpful in some sense, in that I find like there are times when you are able to like, this is again a way to go back to your flow, right? Like there is something going wrong with the startup and you're not in the right zone, and going to a different type of problem altogether and working with that kind of sometimes puts me back on track. And it's like, I think that one thing this guy talks about in the book as well in Flow is that the only way to really be happy is not just by doing something like watching TV or something, right? That's not really what makes you happy. It's about finding another slightly positive, stressful, I don't know how to describe it. He describes it so much in the book, but finding something that's like challenging you as well. And I think that has been very helpful. Like when I've kind of not been in the right place, like I switch over to the other thing that I'm doing, and that kind of puts me back. So in some sense, it's been helpful. I think the key is delegation also, I would say. I think this was something I was very poor at, and I think kind of forced me to delegate and trust. This was, I think 1 year ago, if you did this, it would be like, delegation is definitely something I need to do. But
you're using some really big words, Vignesh. I'm glad you're using them, and I'm glad you need to tell your teams and your organization about these words. Use these words.
Yeah.
We don't use them enough in the real world.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, like I was saying, it's just about like you've given somebody a task, or like they're doing something, just trust them to execute that, and like build a culture where that trust is there as well. So I think this was tough for me. I think whole of last year, I would say the biggest growth for me was on this front. It's about, and in some sense, it kind of forced my hand. I just had too much to do, and I was forced to delegate, and it was good. Now I feel so much more comfortable about it. So that was a big plus, I would say.
Super.
If you want to add on anything.
No, this is great. This is great. Hey, I'm enjoying listening to you, man. It's usually I'm the one doing a lot of the talking, so this time it's nice to be on the other side of the fence.
Right, but I mean, the questions that came were asked to me, so I just kind of answer. But this was super cool. I think definitely feeling good. So thanks a ton.
I'm glad you had a good experience. I completely enjoyed doing it. So audience, whoever's out there, I believe you can sign up for these things, for these live coaching sessions if you're interested. I guess you guys know Crater. You've got I think there's a Google form or something that's going to be out there.
Yeah, we'll put a Google form on our LinkedIn page. So definitely.
At some point, right? And we'll try to do this. We'll try to do this once a week, depending on how you guys react, and if you feel this is valuable.
If no one signs up, I'll come back.
That's fine. We're all done.
Yeah. This was awesome, though. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Vignesh, for being so honest and transparent, because that's important. You can't have a coaching dialogue if you got somebody who's already blocked up and they're stuck. So I'm so happy and so grateful that you opened up, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Audience, thanks a lot, guys, for all of you tuned in. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Vignesh.
Right, see you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.